Welcome to Top 5, a show where we count things down from number 5 all the way to number 1. This week on the Top 5, all the way from one of our favorite listeners.
Long distance dedication.
He says, I have a suggestion for Top 5. Top 5 small things that I have done that have paid off in a big way. Top 5 small things I have done that have paid off in a long way. Now, I'll read some of Michael's items on his list, yes. But I want to know, Rodrigo, what is on your list? What is your number 5 small things that you have done that have paid off in a big way?
So my number 5 is at number 5 because I'm not sure if it counts. Like if it counts as a small thing, right. Because my number 5 is starting to work almost exclusively on Google Docs and an online. Instead of having a word processor on my computer, just starting to do that. So it seems like a small thing because all I'm doing is still sitting down on my computer to write. But I don't know if it is a small thing because it's like a big change and I use it a lot. Even though to me, it seems like a very small change. But it's extremely convenient. I have had, while I was writing my book, The Tale of Talis Rabbit, now available on Amazon.
I love it. Every time.
I had a computer die on me, before as I was in the middle of that. And it cost me no problems because the entire manuscript and all of the stories that I was working on and all the different documents that I was using were all online. There's the big threat, right? That someday an EMP is going to just come by and wipe out the whole internet and then we'll lose everything. But until that happens, I have computers, splatter out on me a lot more frequently than, being attacked by the aliens from Independence Day.
All right, that's a good one. Michael says, unsubscribe from email and stop junk mail. Most email I receive is trying to get me to spend money. Very stressful to fight the pressure. Sign up to stop junk mail and opt out from credit card company offers, and it saves time better spent on important tasks. So that's Michael's number 5. Matthew, what is your number 5?
See, this is such a bad topic for me for a couple of reasons. One, even though I hyper-analyze, fiction and the people around me and the bad decisions of my coworkers, I almost never turn my analysis on myself. So when you say small things you have done that make, that have paid off in a big way or made a big difference, I'm like, well, what's a big way? What's a small thing? So I spent time just completely agonizing over this, and I think I got it entirely wrong. But here's the deal. When I turned my amazing powers of analysis on myself, I found that my number 5 was a simple act. Go with me. Sicily, 1940. No, wait. Central Kansas, 1989. I'm a teenager. I'm a nerd. I'm going to college for the first time, right? And I'm doing the little walkthrough thing where they're like, hey, come tour your college. And I'm like, hey, okay, this is my college. And at one point, there was this other nerd, and he had really tall hair. And he and I were just kind of like, hey, we're clearly both nerds. Let's just kind of, hang out and be a nerd unit. And I'm like, okay, fine, that's good.
And that's how you and Carl met.
No, that's how you and I met.
Oh. Sure. I didn't have tall
1989,
hair.
my number 5 is actually befriending a fellow nerd. A small thing, it didn't seem to mean anything. I'm like, okay, it's just some kid. But when I went into my first classes as a communications major, there was Stephen. And when I went into, all of the courses that I was doing in the radio, TV production, the television direction, all the stuff, there was Stephen. By the time I was done, you would go into classes, there was Stephen teaching. And probably 20 years after we graduated, and I figured I'd never see him again, I'm sitting in a comic shop in Topeka, Kansas, and there was Stephen. And Stephen's like, hey, I got this little website thing going on. And 13 years after that, it's literally, 100% of his life and about 55% of mine. So I would say that, just befriending that nerd in college and going, hey, I'm fat, you've got weird hair, let's be friends, has paid off in a really huge way, because I think if it weren't for that, I have no idea. I cannot tell you what my life would be if not for the last 15 years of major spoilers. But I imagine people would be calling me Bubba, and I'd be fixing trucks for a living.
Well, that could be the case still. You never know.
Yeah.
My number 5, kind of playing.
Did you hear that?
Bit.
That was a veiled threat to fire me, everybody.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Never give up on your dreams, Matthew. You could be a truck repairman yet.
My dream was to be the third baseman for the Boston Red Sox, and
wrenching on trucks is pretty close. Anyway, my number 5 also is a little bit along the lines of Michael's, in that a lot of times you get these offers. You say, "Hey, get this free LUT, or get this free template, or get this free thing, or sign up for this, and we'll give you this free whatevers." And one thing that I do is that, knowing that I have no interest or desire beyond the free thing that they're giving me to go any further with the company, I always put in a fake name in your name category, like Ted or Fred or, Jed. I'll put those things in there.
Steven, but with a V.
Yes, exactly.
No, don't do that. That's a lawyer.
No, there's one what's the one that one of them I did recently is just like, I can't believe they don't see through these because it's all automated, so they really don't care. But I put like podcast as the first name and man as the last name. So anytime these emails come in, it's like, "Hey, podcast man." But the thing is, the reason why I put in the fake names is because as soon as I look at that subject line and I see the thing that says "Hey," and then I see the fake name, I'm like, "Oh, that's an instant delete." I don't even I can just blow past that. I don't even have to open up that email and even give it a casual glance. And so it's just really, it speeds up. I mean, it's probably not a huge savings, but I would say in an average day, it probably saves about 10 minutes of email time. And I get a lot of emails every day. And so when you look at 10 minutes a day, by the end of the week, that's an extra hour that I have saved myself. So just if you're going to sign up for a stupid thing where people are like, "We're going to give you the plan that you need to maximize your time," well, just put in that fake name so you can get their free template that they're selling you, because then after that, all you have to do is just every time you see that fake name come in, just hit delete. And so that's my number 5. Rodrigo, what do you have for number 4?
My number 4 is something that it's a theory that I developed back when I was a bachelor, and my house was always a gigantic mess. And then eventually I got a girlfriend and I got married, and the house is pretty good. And I think because we're both working at it, but we still kind of kept having this problem in that if we ever like recline the couch or like open the pantry, 10,000 tote bags would fly out. And if we were ever going to the grocery store, we could find not a single tote bag. So eventually I went online and I bought a big basket, and it's like a woven kind of basket, but it's not like a wicker basket. It's like, I don't know, it's like some sort of knit together, like yarn material. So we started putting our tote bags in there, and now we always have them when we need them. There's a place to put them. They're not all over the place. And as a bonus, the cat really likes it. Mm-hmm. So it has turned into something that is less valuable than the other stuff we have that the cat can paw at.
Nice.
Because she's not, I don't think she's going to get through it. But yeah, it just, it killed, it even killed a bird with that stone that I didn't even know I was trying to kill.
Nice. So a tote for your totes, or at least a basket for your totes. Very nice.
Tote.
Yes. Michael says, make sure everything has a place for it. Lack of organization can be very stressful and psychologically debilitating. Free up time you would spend trying to find something. So that goes kind of right along with yours there, Rodrigo.
Yeah.
Matthew, what do you have for number 4?
My number 4, actually came about relatively recently. When I was younger, when I was in college, I would occasionally have moments where I would just be completely paralyzed by anxiety on any given decision. These are relatively rare for me. It wasn't something that I did over and over and over, but as we sometimes say here on the Major Spoilers Podcast Network, that was in the before times. And 2020, as you may remember, was a year of hell. It was not a good year for anybody. It was especially a bad year it was especially a bad year for a lot of people. It was especially a bad year for me because at the point when the pandemic hit and they closed all the schools and everybody in my house was working from home, it was impossible to do my job from home. And I am classified as an essential worker. There are elements of my job that require that someone be physically present in the office for very specific emergency call reasons. And so I got really, really anxious, like all the time. And I went to my doctor in 2020 and I said, "Doctor, I feel like a root beer that somebody shook up really hard." And he's like, "Yeah, I get that a lot." And he's like, "I'm going to give you something, and I want you to try this for about 3 months." So my number 4 is a prescription for Lexapro. I think it's 10 milligrams. But what it has done since I've started taking it is really kind of taken the edge off of the existential dread of everything. You know, it's a situation where, yes, there's still stressful situations. There's still anxiety, but it's not every morning as I walk out the house, is this the moment that I kill my family? You know, because everybody in my house is either diabetic or asthmatic or immunocompromised or all of the above. And so, honestly, I feel like I have not felt this good in a very long time. And everybody in the house is like, "Yeah, you should keep taking that. This is very good. This has done things for you. Keep taking that." And I'm like, I didn't necessarily feel it at first. And there are some adverse side effects that were problematic at the beginning, but I'm just like, is it doing any good? And everybody in my house was like, "Yes, yes, yes." Heavy, heavy nodding, loud people. So my number 4 is my prescription to Lexapro. And I feel like it's one of those things that sometimes it's hard to admit that things might be a problem, that you might need some assistance. And I feel like knowing that you can that you can talk to someone, that you can talk to your doctor, that you can have these moments and you can help, I feel like really changed the rest of 2020 and all of 2021 for me so far.
You know what? What's funny? I take
What's that?
I take an antidepressant for my migraines and a antihistamine for anxiety. So it's like
that doesn't even make sense.
It's just what works, you know? It's like I have
guess.
this thing where like I only get like the secondary effects of things. So my doctors always have it's like they're playing Battleship.
You're one of those guys who actually takes Viagra for the heart medication reasons.
Yep.
Yeah,
There you go.
I know the feeling.
My number 4 is going to be somewhat controversial to a lot of people, but it saves me a lot of time. I listen to all of my podcasts and all of my audiobooks at 1.5 speed. I have taken it up. I have taken it up to 1 3/4 speed. But
Madness.
Here's the thing. I know, right? But I've backed it off. I've backed it off to 1.5 speed because one of the things that obviously the first time that you listen to a podcast or an audiobook that's playing at 1.5 speed, you're like, I can't understand anything that they're saying because it's going too fast. Some people are just natural slow speakers. And especially I found with audiobooks, they talk really slow. Like Bob went to the store and Bob found on aisle 23 6 packs of donuts that he did not know that were there before. And it's like, why are you talking so slow? But the thing is, you train your mind to still listen to everything and still comprehend everything. And most, I'm on Apple devices. And so there's not really a pitch shift that happens when I play things at faster speed. So it's not like someone suddenly starts talking like Alvin and the Chipmunks. Yeah, nothing like that. But, after a few days of doing that, and this is years ago, but after a few days of doing that, you really start to understand and comprehend everything that's said. There are a few instances where I'll be like, wait, what did they say? And I'll have to back it up to get the, like if I'm looking for a quote of something or if I'm looking for data information, then 1.5 speed doesn't work for me, especially if I'm writing it down. But for just general listening and when I go on my walks and listen to my audiobooks, 1.5 speed is just like the perfect speed for me to listen to anything. One negative side effect that I have found of the 1.5 speed is that when I talk, I tend to talk a lot faster because I'm trying to match the cadence of what I hear everyone else talking in my head 90% of the day. So
that's true. You do.
Yeah. So 1.5 speed is a little thing that saves me a lot in the big time. I am still about 2 weeks behind on podcasts, even though I'm listening to 1.5 speed, which tells you how many podcasts that I subscribe to. So that is my number 4 on the list of things that I've done, that are little things that I have done that have paid off in a big way. Let's bump up to number 3, Rodrigo. What do you have for number 3?
I always drift away when I'm listening to stuff, and I feel like if I did that, if I listened to things on 1.5 speed, it would be like missing like 3 or 4 stops on the bus. And we're like, well, now I gotta get on a different bus to go back to where
I live in another town.
Yep, this is where I live now.
Depending on what you're listening to, it can make things a little bit more exciting. Honestly, I think listening to Critical Hit at 1.5 speed makes the adventure more exciting than listening to it on normal speed.
And it makes us sound like geniuses.
Yes, exactly.
True.
Like already you edit Critical Hit to make us sound less like dunces.
Right.
At 1.5 speed, we're like downright competent.
Yeah, especially when it gets to the.
For me, he takes out all of my really good stuff.
No, if you ever had good stuff, Matthew, I would certainly leave it in.
Stop
Boom!
No,
Boom! Rodrigo, what do you have for number 3?
My number 3 is my parents are very frugal. They don't spend money on stuff if they don't have to. I mean, they have, entertainment and, they have a nice TV and everything. But one thing that they never did was buy dog poop bags for their dogs. They always just used bags that came in from the store, right? You go to the store, you get plastic bags, you use those for whatever.
Right.
And I did that for a while, but there's always this thing where like when you when you like unscrunch a bag, you don't know what state that bag's going to be in. If that bag has a hole in it, then that's it. That's civilization right there, right? So I bought a bulk bunch of like little rolls of dog bags, and they came with a dispenser which you can attach to your leash. Like my dogs have those retractable leashes. Mm-hmm. So they have a hard assembly that you can actually hang on to, and you can attach the thing to that. And it's just really made things 1,000 times easier, right? The bags are always handy. You can just, check to make sure that you have a roll in there. And pretty much, even if there is a problem with the bag, if you pull the bag out and you accidentally tear it, there's another one right behind it, right? And that it's funny because everybody's like, yeah, that's how you do it, man. But it's not something that I had even thought about doing until for some reason we decided to buy a bunch of because we were using those tote bags. That's why.
That's what it was.
Yeah. See, that's the callback. We started using tote bags, and we weren't getting plastic bags from the store, and so we didn't have anything to pick up dog waste with.
Our community has, especially on this end of town, and I think all around town, they have like community dog, the waste disposal area, but they also have bags. They also have bags that are just there on a disposal. So if you need to pick up your stuff, you just grab it, go and pick up your dog poop. And yet,
that's cool.
And these things are about a half a mile apart from one another. And yet every day I am dodging dog poop on the sidewalk when I go and do my walk and listen to my podcast at 1.5 speed.
Maybe you should walk slower.
No.
You're walking at 1.5 speed.
No. Well, actually, I need to walk more like 2.5 speed. So, all right, let's see. Michael says, wash smaller loads of laundry daily. Multitask. Do the laundry while cooking dinner or watching TV. It's a huge time saver! ! Matthew, what do you have for number 3?
My number 3 is something that's really only paid off for me and maybe, a few people who follow me on social media. But it was 7 years ago. I remember the day, November the 24th, 2014. It was Thanksgiving week. And my job, you're locked in a room with grandmas. And sometimes you get bored. And I was on social media back in that time when we could be on social media at work. And somebody was like, man, that line from X-Men is so stupid. I mean, how many guys are there who wear yellow spandex? And I said to myself, well, I can think of 10. And so I made a list of 10 guys in yellow spandex and put it on the Twitter. And 7 years later, this is now how I survive the hellscape that my job has become, is that, pretty much every day at lunch and once a week at Major Spoilers, majorspoilers.com. Check it out tomorrow or Wednesday or whenever it is. I don't know. You're a future people. You figure it out. I will make a list of 10 things. And honestly, it really helps to have something that I can focus a little bit of brain power on and a little bit of energy into in the 12 to 15 second moments that I have at work between my various and sundry things. So I will be like, hey, wouldn't it be neat if there were, 10 guys wearing skirts? Yeah, we can totally do that. And right now on my phone, I have probably 300 things just sitting in there going, yeah, tomorrow I'm going to do this. And the next day I'm going to do this. The next day I'm going to do that. And every day at lunch, I look forward to posting my list of 10 things and going, okay, I have now contributed to the universe. I can veg out with a Stephen King novel all afternoon. It makes me feel like I'm doing something creative with my day. And that's why my number 3 is a list of 10 things.
Nice.
On top 5, which is actually very meta.
So I went back to go and teach at the university, a couple of years ago now. And in the first month that I was there, they're like, oh, we've got this new initiative at the university. Everybody's going to get a little thing on their desk so that they can turn it into a standing desk. You can either sit down or you can stand up. Everybody's been asking for these across the campus, so we're giving them to everyone. And I was like, okay, sure, I guess I'll take one. I don't know why or if I would ever need one. And then my back, I really started developing some really bad back problems, probably within the last couple of years. And a lot of it is because I'm sitting at a desk most of the day typing. So I've got the hunched shoulders, I'm leaning forward, I'm putting a lot of strain on my back. And people are like, well, you really should try the standing desk and see if that makes a difference. And sure enough, probably within a week of using the standing desk at the university, my back pain totally went away. I felt like I was standing up straighter. I had less, just issues related to sitting. I felt like I was moving more, and I really, really enjoyed it. And then, 2020 came around, and it was a horrible time because none of us were, we were sent home and everybody had to work from home. And at the time, because of the way I like to type, I do like to have my feet on the floor all the time when I'm working. And so that means if I'm going to have my arms at a right height, then the desk that I built out of an old countertop needs to be kind of low. And so again, I found myself leaning and scrunching forward until finally, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 months ago, my back was really getting problematic again. And I said, you know what, I'm going to take some money that I've been saving for something else, and I'm going to turn this desk that I made into a standing desk. So I went out and found the most heavy duty, standing desk legs and mechanism that's out there. And I love the standing desk. The standing desk relieves all the back pain for me, which makes me less cranky. It actually promotes better health. And so standing desk is just something for me that has paid off in a big, big way. And I probably stand now. I kind of alternate between sitting and standing here at the main office. Probably, I'll probably do an hour standing, an hour sitting, and just alternate back and forth. But when I'm down at the university, it's just like I have no problem standing all day, and it feels really good. So standing desk is my number 3. Definitely worth trying out for a lot of people. All right, let us move to our number 2. And Rodrigo, what do you have for your number 2?
My number 2 is also kind of a fix for a problem that we were having around the house, in that we have 2 tall hampers for doing laundry. And so we do the laundry, we put it in some place, and then later on I would go to fold it, and there would be a piece of clothing there that I didn't remember having washed and dried. And I'd be like, is this dirty? My wife would be like, I don't know. And that just it just collapses the whole thing, right? It's like if dirty clothes are ending up in the clean hamper and vice versa, then what are we even doing here, right? So I labeled the clean hamper and the dirty hamper, and
Nice.
It works. It's a thing that works, but my wife hates it when I label things. I think because it looks stupid and ugly, and I should have realized that, or should have really stopped to think about it before I drew a little dinosaur on the clean one that says clean, and then the dirty hamper has, like, the clean one has like slats or like slits, but the dirty one has circles, right? They're like it has like circular holes in it. So I drew some eyes, like a very like strained looking person was like shouting, and then drew a little like word balloon. Yeah, she didn't like that. But the system works. If we, when we get the next paycheck or something, maybe we can just invest in like nicer hampers that are different looking from each other.
Maybe a real label maker.
I don't think she's gonna like that either. I think, labeling something in Sharpie looks cheap, but a label maker is like a different kind of, you know what I mean. It's like how you label like your schoolwork and stuff. And I think I have this feeling that my wife wants to have nice things, and she like wants to like the place where she lives. So
but
I'm all for. I mean, she lives with me, so that's already an obstacle. But I'm all for it. I just kind of have to like have the presence of mind ahead of time to not or maybe run my solutions by her, my genius solutions, before implementing them.
There you go.
Because she's a graphic designer, so she knows what looks good.
Oh yeah, she's not going to be happy with anything you do.
All right, Michael says his number, what are we up to? 2. His number 2 is stop eating fast food. Spend an hour on Sunday planning your meals for the week, and you'll be amazed at how much money you save and how much better the quality of your meals will be. Can you say health benefits? So, Matthew, what do you have for your number 2?
I cannot say health benefits, but I can say my number 2. And my number 2, as with apparently all of my entries on this week's list, really overthought it. So here's the deal. Not so long ago, I was a manager at a call center. And I was very proud of being a manager at a call center and trying to be humane and decent and kind to the poor people who worked for me. We had an average lifespan, for lack of a better word, of an employee of about 90 days. So after about 5 years in this situation, I felt like I kind of had my stuff together and I could try and make things better for everybody. And we got a new operations manager, which is the level above me. And one of my coworkers said, yeah, I used to work for him. He puts everybody on a final written warning so he can force you to do what he wants. And so one day I came in and Brian had for me a final written warning. And I said to myself, I'm not going to sign this. And I left and I went home and I took stock of the situation and a few interactions that I'd had in the week before. And I called back to work and I made a meeting with the site manager. And I walked in to the site manager. I got a haircut. I put on a tie. No one had ever seen me in a tie. I walked into a meeting with the site manager and I said to her, look, your schmuck says to me, you need to be on a final written warning so I can make you do what I want. And for 7 years, I have tried to be a humane force in this place and not force people to do what I want, but in fact, try and teach them how to do things better. And as I was trying to write this thing last night, explaining why I wasn't going to sign Brian's final written warning, it kept turning into a resignation letter. So here's my resignation letter. Bye. My number 2 is refusing to sign a piece of paper that I knew was crap and giving up a job that was a relatively decent job. I mean, I've had worse jobs, I guess I should say, but basically giving up this job that I'd been in for 7 years because it was clear that it was no longer going to be good for me. My stress level went down literally immediately. My blood pressure went down. My general demeanor was a nicer place. And, by the time that they tried to sue me, claiming they didn't have to pay me unemployment benefits because technically I quit rather than their schmuck of a manager forcing me out, I already had a new job, a better job, the one I have now that I enjoy most of the time. But, it's one of those situations where sometimes you just make a small decision and that decision is, I'm Doug and you're Dad and I'm out of here.
My number 2, not quite as drastic. I have been doing this thing for a couple of years now. This was way before Marie Kondo came along. But something that I call 5 things. I take stock of what is around me, and every day I find 5 things that I can just get rid of. Something that I haven't used in a couple of years, something that is just taking up space, something that maybe should have been thrown away a while ago, but I just haven't done it. And what I found is it does end up simplifying a lot of things. Unfortunately, 2020 came along and I kind of laxed up on that, as probably many people did. But I'm starting to get back into that habit of just find 5 things that I don't need anymore, that I don't want anymore, that are just taking up space, and either donate them, sell them, or throw them in the trash. And it is actually opening up a lot of space. You'd be surprised if you're looking at 5 things every day that you're getting rid of. At the end of the month, that's 150 things that you have gotten rid of. Take that times 12. That's like 1,500 things that you get rid of over the course of a year. And you're going to have a lot of space freed up because of that. It is. And then, a couple of years ago, Marie Kondo came out with her Does This Give Me Joy thing, which is kind of like the 5 things. But hers is just as you're doing your everyday thing, look at something and say, do you bring me joy? No. Or yes. Me, it's just like, I don't need this anymore. Time to get rid of it. And I know it causes some issues in the house because, the kids will be like, are you really wanting to get rid of that? Or my wife will say, are you sure you want to get rid of that? And it's like, yep, I have zero attachment to this thing. I haven't seen it in years, so it might as well be gone. And so it's gone. And it has been a huge, number one, it also makes me reconsider things that I'm about to buy. Is this something that I really need? Is it going to be something that I'm going to just throw away in 5 years? And number 2, it's just literally a great way to start cleaning up all the clutter in your life. So my number 2, 5 things. We are now to the top of our list. And Rodrigo, I'm very curious to see what is your number 1 thing that you've done that has paid off in a big way.
The number 1 thing, small thing that I've done that has paid off in a big way is probably the one with the biggest ratio of small action to large impact. And that is that I started to take a magnesium supplement in the morning. And that has actually decreased the duration of my migraines. Not necessarily the intensity, but it used to be that very often I would have a migraine and then basically it would recede to just a very bad headache for a while, and then it would like pick up again, right? After I started taking magnesium, basically that part in the middle generally goes away. So I'm looking at a migraine and then later on another migraine, but the stuff in between doesn't cause me as many problems, which probably seems like it's not that good of a deal, but you try it. I mean, it's feeling bad all day is not conducive to work, is not conducive to creativity, is not conducive to having a good relationship with the people in your life. So the fact that basically magnesium supplements have given me like anywhere from 5 to 12 hours in probably from 5 to 20 hours in a given like 24-hour block back, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep, nice. Totally good. Michael says his number one thing is to laugh. Laughter heals the soul. Seek out things that make you laugh and include them in your routine. It's always good to laugh every day. I think I at least laugh a couple of times a day. Matthew, what do you have for your number one?
I'm constantly laughing. I mean, it's just like, you suck. But my number one, take us back to the year 1982. All right. So I'm a nerd kid, but I'm not that kind of nerd kid. And I'm not the kind of nerd kid that I grew up to be a nerd adult of. I was like a dinosaur nerd and a car nerd. And I was the guy who took things way too seriously. The kid in the turtleneck sweater and the blazer. I was that kid. And I didn't necessarily like or dislike it. That's just the person you are. You go through life. But my older sister was selling magazine subscriptions. And one of the magazine subscriptions she had was a comic book based on a cartoon that I really enjoyed. It was the comic book of G.I. Joe. So I signed up for 12 issues of G.I. Joe, and I did not get it. I got 12 issues of Indiana Jones instead, because instead of G.I.J., she put I-G-O, I-J-O, whatever it is. It's fine. I'm not at all bitter about it 35 years later. But that comic book that I read was like, hey, this isn't G.I. Joe, but this is pretty good. Maybe I should look at more of those. And so I did, and I found out that they sold them at the drugstore, and they sold them at the Quickie Mart, and there was a guy downtown who had a little store, and they had a bunch of strip comics in the back that you could buy 3 for $1. And now, 40 years later, I literally just now finished unpacking my comic books from when we moved in 2019. But it's also brought me a great deal of joy. It's brought me, pretty much everything related to major spoilers, because again, as we mentioned in our number 5, it was that shared nerdliness that Stephen and I, essentially bonded on 30 years ago and have been coasting on ever since. And, just letting the embers of friendship slowly wink out as we terribly razz each other into the ground. And, it's not at all horrifying and terrifying. But here's the thing. If I had not bought that fateful subscription, my number one, I would never have been here to entertain you right now tonight.
All right, there you go. My number one this week is one that I've been doing for a long time. And it's something that when I started going to college, I realized that this is something I need to do because I was taking at one point 18 credit hours in a single semester. And I know at one point I tried to do 21 and they said, like, no, you can't do that. But normal schedule is 12 hours. So anything over that starts to get a little crazy. And I figured out that, man,
that's crazy.
I need to create a schedule so I know exactly where I need to be, what I need to do, and, what's going on. And I would just every day start writing down a list of here are the things that I need to do, that I need to accomplish. And I would even put in the times that things needed to be done, or I would put it in the order that things would need to be done. So as soon as I completed one task, I could just scratch it off my list and go on to the next item. And I just knew exactly what I was supposed to be doing at any given time. And I've been doing that, for years now. And it's very helpful for me, just creating a quick schedule. For the last couple of years, I've heard people talking about doing journals and how journaling really helps you be even more productive. And so in the beginning of the year, I started reading all about how to do a bunch of journaling, and I even bought a journal to create stuff. And about a couple of months in, I'm just like, this is really and maybe I'm doing it wrong, but I'm like, this is no different than the schedule that I normally make. So about a month ago, I was just like, journaling, I don't think is doing anything different for me except for the time that it's taking me to draw out all the little grids and squares and things that they want you to draw out. So I've just gone back to my old list, and it does great. And it gives me, space to write things down. So that process of actually writing on the paper solidifies information in my head on things that need to go on. I've got extra space so that I can just jot to the side little notes. And at the end of the day, I can look at all the additional notes that I've written and decide whether that is something that needs to be acted upon or, thrown away or whatever. And so having a schedule, just a real quick schedule of here are the things that I need to do today in the order that I need to do them, keeps me on task, keeps me from sitting there going, oh, now I know I'm supposed to be doing something. I've forgotten something and getting yelled at or leaving my kids at school by accident or something like that. And it really makes me feel like I am productive and know what I'm doing, even though I'm, got a million balls in the air at one time. A good schedule helps me make sure that they're all in the air at the same time. So that is my number one, the schedule. And there we go. There are our top 5 things that I've done that have paid off in a big way. Thank you, Michael, for suggesting that to us. Here's a suggestion for you, dear listener. If you haven't been over to our Patreon page, head over to patreon.com/major spoilers and sign up today. You can sign up for a monthly plan. You can do as little as $2 a month, and you can go as high as $15,000 a month if that's what you'd like. By the way, at the $15,000 a month mark, we will fly to your house and record a show in your house. We will take you out to dinner. We will treat you like the king or queen that you should be at the $15,000 a month level. But maybe you don't. Maybe $5 is probably more your speed. You get access to a bunch of other stuff over at our Patreon page at patreon.com/major spoilers. And if you act right now, there's not a whole lot of time. There's literally less than a week left by the time you're listening to this, or maybe it's already passed if you're not caught up to every single episode of Top 5. Really, why are you not caught up to every single episode of Top 5? But during the month of April, if you sign up for our annual membership, you will only pay for 10 months, but you will get 12 months total. So you're going to get 2 months free is what I'm saying. That's the savings that you're going to get. It's only happening in April 2021. So point your browser at patreon.com/major spoilers. Help us out, help yourself out, get a bunch of access to other things, including our super secret Discord channel where you can come in and hang out with Major Spoilers people and other really cool spoilerites from around the world. You can even access the Top 5 channel where you can go in and you can see what other people are sharing on their top 5 list of things that they've done, small things that they've done that have paid off in a big way. And you can share yours and everyone's going to read them. And maybe we will read yours in a future episode. Why? Because everybody loves a list. Take care.
This podcast is copyright 2021 by Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC.